You're listening to the Jan Price Show. Oh, let me start again. Let me start the audio. I did this earlier too. You're listening to the Jan Price Show, all about movies. And today my guest is writer-director Jane Weinstock. We're going to be talking about her new film entitled 3 Birthdays. And it is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful movie. Absolutely love this movie, Jane.
Oh,
So
thank
many
you.
things. You're welcome. I mean, it's just it's so well done. It's such a well done film, and there's so much to it. And I can't wait to do a deep dive with you about this film. I know when I was reading the press notes that this is a personal film for you. Let's talk about that a little bit. And before we even do that, let's give the audience an idea of what this movie is all about.
Well, it's a film about a family in 1970 at the height of the sexual revolution. So there were many revolutions going on around this time. There was there was feminism. There was the anti-war movement. There was a Black Power movement. So all this activity is the background for this story of a family, and it's a family that's kind of messed up.
Yes.
And it gets further messed up. It gets further messed up by the sexual revolution, which was really at its height at this moment.
Definitely. Well, I hate to date myself, but I date myself a lot. I was a freshman in college in 1970, and I went to a women's college across from Miami of Ohio. Unfortunately, it's no longer there. So I was there during the pivotal point in this film is Kent State. I think part of the pivotal point of the film, and so I was there during that time, and a lot of classmates did go up to Kent State to march against the war and everything that was going on. So it brought back a lot of memories for me. And that's why it was so pertinent, I guess, to my life, having lived through that and having been a part of it. So why was it such a personal story for you, Jane?
Well, I was in high school at this time, and my mother was a feminist. It's not based on my life, but my mother was a feminist, and my parents had their issues, and so I kind of took that, and I took everything that was going on at the time and put it together in a story about a family of two college professors and their 17-year-old daughter.
And go ahead.
Yeah, so why was it personal to me? I grew up during this time, so it meant I have a lot of very, very powerful memories of this time. And my mother was a politician and an artist, and I actually used her paintings in the film.
Oh, wow.
So there are big geometric abstractions that are her paintings from the 70s.
Wow. Wow. Great set too, by the way. The kitchen.
It's a good kitchen, right?
Good kitchen. I said, I don't remember a refrigerator being that green. Avocado green.
I just got an email from somebody. I just showed the film at the LA International Film Festival, and I got an email saying, I really want that refrigerator.
I know. Brought back a lot. The orange obviously brought back a lot of memories too. All of it. It was, yeah. It's a great cast, and there's so many obviously issues in it. So, the daughter, it's a husband and wife who are both professors at a school in, I don't know which school. Do you even mention?
I don't say what school,
You
but
don't say.
I can say it's based on Oberlin. But
Oberlin.
it's not
Okay.
Oberlin. It's Oberlin-like.
Okay, because it's a college in Ohio, again, and not far from Kent State. So they could, but this young woman decides that and I want to get into the 3 birthdays because I think that's fascinating how you did that. And I want to ask you why you did that. But, she decides on her 17th birthday that it's time for her to lose her virginity. And so that's sort of the crux of the beginning of the film that kind of jettisons the rest of the story. Her decision to do that is what shifts, the dynamics between herself and her parents' relationship. So it's rather interesting. So why did you choose to do it over their 3 birthdays, which happen to be very significant dates in this, not only for the film, but just in general in history?
Well, I wanted to tell it from 3 different points of view. I kind of went into it with that idea. And so that seemed like a good idea to sort of make each point of view, whoever's birthday is being celebrated, it is the point of view of that section of the film. So it's in the film's in 3 sections. And then whoever the idea also is that whoever you're following, is the kind of the person that you're going to identify more with. So it was very tricky to get it so that people would start out identifying with the daughter and then switch to the husband and then switch to the mother, the wife.
Yeah. Well, here they are, it's, as you say, there's so many different things going on. And here we are today, not that far away from many of those things that were going on back in, 1970. Here we are.
Yes,
3 years later. We think, things have really changed, but they haven't really changed. But the height of the sexual revolution and the feminist movement, where a lot of, now again, I was, freshman in college, so I was still kind of grappling with some of that myself, but that instead of freeing us, I really felt it ended up constraining us in the long way. And the mores of the 50s, were obviously being carried into this, and because we're all of the children of the 50s were the ones who were going through this in the late 60s and early 70s. And yet it was hard for us to break away from some of those moral traditions that we were perhaps raised in. And that comes up in this. And that's what I thought was really interesting, that there was that dynamic between, did this really, trying this experiment of being open and free and in exploring sexuality, did it really free us, or did it really constrain us? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's really the big question of the film, right?
Right. Exactly.
And I feel that it's sort of an area for discussion, because there is no simple answer. I think it was freeing for some people and terrible for others. And particularly in cases of families where in the film, the daughter finds out that her mother is having an affair, and that absolutely devastates her. And I'm sure, it's not based on an incident that I know of, but I'm sure there were cases of similar stories at the time. I mean, the pill, basically, the sexual revolution began with the pill, which came out in 1960, or for wide use anyway. And the film takes place in 1970, so it's really been in the air for some time. And that went on until basically the early 80s, when AIDS came along and everything changed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When you were writing this, was there a point of view that was for you that was of the characters that was stronger than another?
Well, I think it's different. I'm finding it's different for different people. For me, I would say the mother's point of view is the one I identify the most with, although I very much identify with the daughter. And I have a lot of sympathy for the husband, but I don't, I wouldn't say I identify with him.
Right.
But then there are a lot of men who identify with the Rob character.
Right.
So it was interesting when I showed it at the Tallgrass Film Festival. Afterwards, three men of three different generations came up to me and told me how much they identified with this character and what an impression the film made on them, which was very interesting.
It is interesting. It is interesting. I watched it with my partner, and he thought it was a really he loved it. He thought it was a really well made film, and it is. He did not relate to the husband, which I'm
Well, the
happy.
husband does some bad things.
Yeah, he didn't. He says no, he didn't relate to him at all. But
No.
yeah, it was interesting. I mean, for him to get his point of view, because he's 9 years younger than me, so he kind of was like not part of this, generation. But he relates. It's that's why our relationship is so good, because he relates so much to the 60s and the 70s, himself. For some reason, I think he still, even though he was younger, understood that era a little bit more than a lot of other people that I know who actually lived through the era.
Yeah.
That
Well,
time.
one of the things for the man is that he's struggling to be, with his feminist wife and all these new ideas, and he's trying to be a good guy. He doesn't succeed, but it was hard for men at that time, harder than it is now, I think. And I think men respond, certainly some men respond to that, to having gone through that themselves.
Exactly. I'm sure there
Yeah.
are. Yeah. How has the reaction been when you've gone to quite a few different film festivals, and you've won some awards along the way? How has the reaction generally been?
Well, it's been good. We went to Woodstock first, and a lot of the crew came to that, which was really wonderful. And we had a great reaction, and I won the Best Director prize. So that
Excellent.
was very nice.
Yes.
And then we went to Tallgrass, where we had the most laughter of any screening that we've had thus far, which was really interesting because it's quietly funny, I think, at times. It's not a comedy, but it's got a lot of humor in it. And that audience really went for that. And then I showed it at La Femme. I don't know if you say it the French way or the American way, La Femme International Film Festival just last weekend. And we won again, Best Director.
Oh, fantastic.
So
Congratulations.
yeah, I was really thrilled. And we had a very good response there as well. People seem to like it, which makes me very happy.
You should. And it is. It's a wonderful and so because there's so many different layers to it, and your cast is amazing. Let's talk about that. You've got wonderful Josh Radnor, who was in I can't remember the show now that he was in, but
My mother.
something about mother.
It's like All About My Mother, but that's not what it is.
That's what it is, and I remembered it last night. I can't remember it, but
How I Met Your Mother. How I Met
Your Mother. There you go. Let's give him his
Okay.
due, because many people will remember him from How I Met My Mother. How did you and then Annie? I don't know how you say her last name. Paris and Nuala Cleary. I mean, it's a great cast. So how did you find these actors? I mean, Josh, we know a little bit more about. How did you find them in
I
casting?
found them. I had a wonderful casting director, Betsy Fippinger, and it was COVID, so I never met anybody. It was all done on Zoom, and she sent me lists and so I had meetings with people, and people read for me, and by the time I'd cast everybody, I knew I had a family that was going to work.
Yeah,
And Nuala, that's how you say her name. She's from an Irish family. She or Irish American. she had gone to some kind of fan event with Josh Radnor, I guess for How I Met Your Mother, when she was 13 years old, and she'd gone up to him and taken a selfie with him.
You're
So
kidding.
on the first day of rehearsal, she presented him with this selfie, and he was really blown away.
Oh my goodness. How
Yeah.
old is she now?
Now she's 22, I think.
Wow, wow. That would be that isn't that amazing? That
Yeah.
fortuitous of that too, serendipity and how life takes you. That was great. You know, they
Yeah.
are she's wonderful. She's a wonderful actress. I thought she was, I just, she really held the screen and and did an excellent job in every scene that she was in. So being a new young actress, that's pretty amazing to be able to do that.
Yeah, she was great. And Annie was amazing. Annie and I worked together for, probably for 2 months because she lives in New York. And I was giving her all these books, and she would come to me with notebooks full of questions. And it was a great process. Whereas Josh was doing he was doing a series, so he came on later, but he was incredibly prepared, and then we just made the film in 18 days.
18 days. Wow. Wow.
It
What
was
did you
really fast.
It was fast. And you filmed in New Jersey, is that right?
In New Jersey, yes.
Whereabouts?
In, Rutherford.
Yes. I'm from New Jersey originally, born.
Oh, so in northern New Jersey.
Yeah, I know Rutherford. Yeah, I haven't
Uh,
been back in a long time, but
where are you from in New Jersey?
Mountain Lakes near Morristown up north. It's a little
Uh-huh.
bedroom town right outside of New York City. Yeah.
Oh,
And
nice.
but and yeah, yeah. So New Jersey is near and dear to my heart too, obviously. And I saw that in the credits, and that was nice to see that also.
We had one of our producers was from New Jersey, and he basically he read the script. He said, New Jersey, New Jersey can pass perfectly for Oberlin.
Yeah.
Um, and he's right. I think it worked really well.
It did. It did. Yeah. It's an interesting connection because I from New Jersey and then went to school in Ohio, and it's supposed to be set in Ohio. So as I
Oh
said,
yeah.
it's had a lot of connection for me when I was watching it for sure. What was
Uh,
the most difficult part of the shoot? I'm always curious about that.
the most difficult part was that it was 18 days, and we just had to keep going. One day we were shooting a scene outside between Kate, the mother, and her best friend, and it started raining. So we had to completely reset the scene inside on a set that didn't exist yet. And we had to do that in about 3 hours. So thanks to Jody Asnes, our amazing production designer, we did it, and the scene came out okay. The other difficult thing was that we couldn't find a script supervisor, so there were days when we didn't have anyone as the script supervisor, and somehow the film still cut together.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yes, it was amazing.
So how long did after you wrote it, did it take to actually start filming the movie?
Oh, years and years and years. I wrote it many times because as I was waiting to make it, I was taking classes, I was workshopping scenes from it, and I worked in a directing class that Adrienne Weiss, an amazing teacher, teaches here in New York. So I was able to make it better and better, but it basically, I would say it took about 8 years to get it going. It took a long time.
That's what I hear those stories a lot, especially in independent films, how long it takes to get it going sometimes. So but good perseverance. You didn't give up, and that's the
I'm
important.
a Taurus.
Ah.
I'm not, I'm supposed to be stubborn. Um, and I probably am.
My mother was a Taurus, so I
Oh,
I can
yeah.
relate. I can relate. Yeah, and that's good. Good to have that tenacity in this film and in making movies in particular in this industry. You need to have that tenacity in order to become successful doing what you love. So, who influences you when you were because you've directed other things besides this, but is there a particular director that influences your work more than perhaps others when you're working?
Well, there's one director, I don't know if it's a direct influence, but I like Noah Baumbach's movies a lot.
I do too. Yeah.
The Squid and the Whale is one of my favorites.
Excellent film. And his
Uh,
wife now too.
yes, yes,
Greta Gerwig, who's successful in her own right, and they're great partners, writing partners, as well as partners in life. And
yes,
certainly, so happy for her success with Barbie this summer. I mean,
yes, yes, yes.
who knew that that movie would be as good as it was, number one, because you don't know how that's going to turn out, but just how the popularity of the film all over for men and women, you know,
Yeah,
and
it's amazing.
it is amazing. It's the same kind of thing.
Um,
What in particular, as far as writing, is it the same thing? Because he's also a wonderful writer too.
yeah, it's just the feeling and the subtlety, and at the same time they're cinematic. I think they're just really good.
Yeah,
I mean, I love Jane Campion's films. I don't think it's exactly what I do, but I love her films.
I love her films too. We're now starting to see more and more wonderful female directors coming to the
Yes.
which is so heartwarming to see. Emerald Fennell and her new film Saltburn. She's going
Oh,
to
I haven't. Have you seen that?
see it Saturday night, and she's going to be here. I can't wait to see the film.
Great.
Have her do a question and answer afterwards with the Santa Barbara International Film Festival. We have a great all year round. We have a beautiful theater that they own, and they show these great films, especially as we get closer to the Oscars. They pick up these great films so we can all go see them in advance and then get to, hear the question and answers, usually with the director or sometimes the actors or both the writers. So it's a great place to live. So Santa Barbara for
Mm.
movies. It really is. Oh, well, as New York, you're in New York, so you get to
I have some good movies to see too. But
definitely.
I loved her first film. I thought it was really great.
I have not seen that. I have not
Oh,
seen.
you've never seen it? Yeah.
So, oh, her first film. I thought you said Truffaut. I'm sorry.
No, no, no.
Oh,
Her first
oh
film.
yes, Promising Young Woman. I've been telling everybody
Yes.
about it who had not seen it. I was just telling somebody yesterday. I said, "Oh, if you haven't seen it, you must see that movie," because that came out
Yeah.
of COVID. So I didn't get, even though she won the Oscar for the best screenplay for that film, it didn't get as much play because it, again, was during COVID, so it was a little bit more difficult. So I'm hoping this one gets a lot more buzz about it during Oscar season for sure.
Mhm.
Which do you prefer? I mean, you had another career before you decided to get into this. So tell me how you transitioned from what you were doing to writing and directing films.
Well, I went to graduate school for millions of years in film studies, and I taught in art schools usually because I didn't get my PhD. I did everything but my dissertation. And so this film is about two academics, so I know something about academics, having been one myself. Um, but anyway, and I also wrote about art, um, and then about contemporary art. I was living in New York, and then I decided to take a filmmaking course, and I made a short film um, that had a really great life, and I got a lot of encouragement, and it was a great experience. And I went to the Sundance Directors Lab for my first feature,
Right.
and just everything fell into place for me. Um, so I never looked back.
Wonderful.
I still write criticism once in a while, but not so much
Which do you prefer, the writing or directing?
directing.
Directing, and why?
No, actually, you mean writing screenplays, not as opposed you don't mean critical writing.
No, no, no. Writing
Right.
screenplays.
Writing is really hard. When it's going well, it's great, but there's a lot of pain as well. Directing it just flies by, and editing is something I also love. So I really like the whole thing.
That's wonderful. That's great. Well, it comes through. I mean, because this film is really, really a wonderful film. I'm hoping that you people can see it. It's just playing film festivals right now. Is that correct?
That's right. That's right. It's going to the Fort Lauderdale Film Festival the first week, at the end of the first week of November.
Any other ones coming up?
Yes, we did. I just heard that we got into something. Cinequest.
Oh, that's a great film festival. Wonderful.
Yeah,
Well, everyone, if you're near a film festival where your Three Birthdays is playing, I highly recommend you seek this out, and hopefully it will be in theaters and streaming very soon. And I look forward to having you back on the show, Jane. I wish you much
great.
success with the film.
Thank you so much. It was really a pleasure.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Look forward to
Uh,
having you back.